Hi guys, Bomber here. Welcome back to the channel, and today we'll be doing a CCC. A CCC is a custom car competition. It's a weekly competition of custom cars made by our community, and then I rate them based on design and balance. So for design, I mean the thought process that was behind the car and how it was made, and also its flavor and stuff like that. Instead, for balance, I mean how strong or weak the card is, and to have an high rating in balance, the card it needs to be neither strong nor weak. It needs to be, as the name suggests, balanced. So, for my ratings, since I believe that design is more important than balance, I rate both of them in a scale from 1 to 5, but then I'll multiply by 2 the value I did assign to design, so the final rating for the card will be from 1 to 15, and 10 of those points will be from design, and 5 of them from balance. So, as you can see, design is double more important than balance in the final rating. The CCC will be a teamed competition, but since this time is the first, it was a free teamed one. Starting from the next one, it will be teamed, and so the team for the next week competition is make a coin. You need to make a coin card, and that's the only restriction you have on the making of the card. To upload your card, you need to enter on the Discord server of the WoW channel, in the fan creation channel in particular. I leave down below in the description the link so you can upload your card for this week competition. So that was a bit of a long intro, but I did need to explain the whole thing. So without further ado, let's jump into the reviews. So, in the first place, we have Purge from Call of Cthulhu, and it's a fate card from Mespitole, which reads, on play, destroy a random coin in your deck, and also draw a card, and it costs 3 golds. So, I did rate it 2 points in design and 1 in balance, and the reason from the design perspective is because while an effect like this is pretty cool, it is in Vespitole, and in a faction like Vespitole, which likes to draw cards, destroying coins in your deck actually allows them to draw your non-coins card much faster. And while this could be fine in a faction like Endazu or Daramek, or even Medris, but Medris only has coins usually, so there's no point in that. So it's fine in those factions, but in Vespitole in particular is pretty broken, because Vespitole can actually go infinite. So actually going infinite in a Vespitole means that you have no more coins in your deck, because you draw them all, and you only have cycling cards, which draw a card each of them, so each card draws a card, and so you can draw cards forever, and so that means going infinite. And with Purge, you can go infinite much faster than you would otherwise. So it only needs to be played 7 times, and you will have 3 coins left, all in your hand, and then you will have only cards that draw cards, and so you can go infinite by just playing it 7 times. At 3 gold, the cost is pretty low. If ever an effect like this will be printed in Vespitole, it will be far more than that. So, for example, at least 10 gold. But even at that point, that's probably still too broken. So, for that reason, I did also hamper the value of the design aspect, because a card like this cannot be balanced with this design. So that's why I also did low down the rating in the design. While from the balance perspective, I gave it only 1 point out of 5, because as you may have guessed, this card is too strong. You basically just need to combo it with any other Vespitole cards, in particular with Sibling Scroll, to just get it faster, and every time you play it, you have more chance to draw this card and other Vespitole cards, so you may also go infinite faster, but you may also grab those other cards before you go infinite much faster than you would. So definitely that speeds up Vespitole much more than it will ever be able to, and so for that reason a card like Purge at this costing gold is too strong, and it probably can't be balanced, because it will probably be balanced at 20 gold, but it's just because at 20 gold it will probably never be bought. So this card can't be balanced by design, and so for that reason that's a low design and also a low balance, because it's too strong. Then for the second place, we actually have 2 cards tied for the second place, starting off with Tax Collector from Tesla's Monster. with the card Tax Collector. It is another time I've split a card from the Prosperity tab. This time it costs 2 gold and reads: when played, gain 2 gold. When discarded, opponent gains 1 gold. It intercepts and it has 1 health, so it is an ally. I gave it 2 points in design and 5 points in balance. So I give it 2 points in design because the card is actually pretty similar to Thief. And yes, for the part of when played, gain plus 2 gold, it actually is only a Thief. Also, the card doesn't show the draw a card when played, but it was actually meant to be here. So it's actually a Thief, and yes, it has the when discarded change to it instead of the Thief. But actually it's a pretty similar card to Thief, so for that reason, although there are cards already in WoW that are pretty similar to other cards, so definitely that is not a major problem by design aspect, because there are already cards similar to each other, but I don't like to come up with ideas that are already similar to cards that are already in the game, so for that reason I detracted some points on that. And also even the change on it with the when discarded thing is actually pretty similar to an usury or a loan type of effect, probably more towards the usury card. And so for that reason, since it is too similar to other cards already in the game, I subtracted some points on the design aspect. And also for the design still, it's because it's pretty strange that a tax collector gains gold by itself, and then when it is killed, your opponent gains 1 gold back. So it is explained a bit by the fact that the tax collector takes those gold, then it actually wants to steal that gold instead of giving it to the empire or whatever it is. And actually, if an opponent kills that, he can steal back some of the gold that he had taken for himself instead of giving it to the actual empire or whatever. And so this is a bit explained, but still, why does the tax collector takes the gold by itself? Where does it takes it from? For example, I would much more like if it takes it for your opponent. For example, when played, your opponent, you actually steal 1 gold from your opponent, but then when discarded, your opponent gains it back. For example, that could be a really nice twist for the flavor and the design. Then again, for the balance aspect instead, I gave it 5 points instead, because it's actually a pretty balanced card. It's actually pretty strong, because think about it, you are paying 2 gold, but you gain actually those 2 golds back instantly, and also draw a card. So you gain actually plus 1 gold for buying it, and then yes, your opponent also gains that 1 gold back, but it's actually like the first time you play it, you gain 1 gold, your opponent gains 1 gold. So it's actually a neutral effect, and instead each other time you play it back, you're actually gaining gold and profiting from that card. And yes, so your opponent is also gaining an advantage by killing it, but it's actually lower than the advantage you are getting yourself. And I gave it 5 stars because yes, it is strong, but not too strong, and also it's as strong at the point that could be run in a particular deck. For example, I'm referring to the corruption, soft-eruption type of deck, because some soft-eruptions actually run a serve, and it just acts like a cheap card to buy and not overbank your bank, actually. And so this will be a pretty much better serve by any other means in that kind of deck, and so for that reason I gave it 5 points, in balance. Then the second card for the second place is Sealed Jar from Superman. This time is an Endazu card from the Anima tab. It costs 2 gold, it starts off with 0 charge and can reach out to 10. And it reads, magic you gain becomes charges for this card. Feed magic or discard, you gain plus 1 magic for each charge. When full, discard and plus 3 magic. So it's probably worded a bit badly, but what the card actually does is that you can either feed it magic to actually make it pop out instantly, and so you gain plus 1 magic per charges. Instead, if the card reaches its max at 10, it actually discards itself, and also you gain plus 3 magic over the 10 magic you would gain anyways for the discard effect. So that's what I think the card actually does. If not, it's a bit weak. So taking off of that, I gave it 3 stars in design, 3 points, sorry, 3 points in design and 3 points in balance. So for the design aspect is because it's a bit weird that a sealed jar gains magic and actually steals it from you and actually put it inside of it, and then when it's actually full it breaks, so that part is actually pretty accurate. But it's strange in the fact that if there are multiple sealed jars in the play, all the sealed jars gain death charges from the magic you gain. So that's actually a mechanic for the gameplay, and that's right, but it's a bit strange that the magic essence is condivided among all the sealed jars. So in that case, it was a bit of a, in my opinion, a bit a miss for the flavor of the card. And then for the balance aspect, I gave it 3 points out of 5, because I'm a bit concerned that this card could be too strong. Or rather not strong, because they're actually pretty stronger card than this, but it's actually oppressive in a way that is uninteractive. So for example, Zamjigar is pretty fast, but it can be answered. If your opponent manages to have 4 damages, a first turn Zamjigar can be killed. Instead, a sealed jar acts more like, for example, an engraved urn. In the fact that it can't be dealt with directly. So a card like those type of cards needs to be not too strong. In fact, so many players actually rant about the engraved urn because it's pretty strong and it is uninteractive. And so this is a bad card for balance issues. In that way, sealed jar is too oppressive, because think about it. If you have 2 Behold the Veils in your starting opening bank, and it actually has, if you have 3 of them in your bank, in your deck actually, you have 6% of chance to get 2 Behold the Veils in your first turn, and you buy them and just hold them. Then on this, the following turns, you have 4 turns to draw at least 2 sealed jars, and it's actually pretty low. The chances to do that are pretty low, but not that low. And if you do that, by turn 4, you have 2 Behold the Veils at 5 charges, 2 sealed jars into play, so you play both of them, the Behold the Veils, and actually since both sealed jars gain charges for each of the magic the Behold the Veils gains, you have 2 fully charged sealed jar, so they proc, they when full discard plus 3 magic, so there's actually plus 13 magic times 2, so that's 26 damages by turn 4. So actually pretty, the chances are pretty low of that happening, but it could happen, and not that low of the time, not that, I can say, it's not that rare for it to happen. So for that reason, it's pretty too fast in that regard, and it also, as I said, is uninteractive, so that's the main problem. And finally, for the first place, we have Rend the Veil from Rat Elemental. It's another time an Endazu card from the Goetia tab. It costs 2 golds, and it starts with 4 charges out of 4, and it reads on turn or feed health points. Attack player with greater magic, it loses a charge and you gain a magic. So I gave it 4 points in design and 4 points in balance. So for the design aspect is because I find it a bit strange, starting off that the attacks player with greater magic. So it is pretty interesting in gameplay wise and mechanic stuff, and that's okay. But I find it strange that you are rending the veil. So actually, what is this veil starting off? Probably if it is an essence or an entity, is fine that you are hurting yourself by actually stealing magic. And this card is actually a bit of a contrast from Behold the Veil. Like you're actually slowly meditating to gain that knowledge and magic from the veil. Instead, in this card you're rending the veil, so you're actually stealing the magic from it. And so for that reason the veil actually defends itself and actually hurts the player with the greatest magic. But that's the strange thing, because why the player with greater magic? If you are rending the veil, you should be taking all the damage. So basically, probably the most common scenarios that will happen, because you will probably have the most magic out of the two. But if, for example, you are facing against an Olive Rat Listrada or an Olive Rat Isadora, for example, your opponent may have the greatest magic, and so actually, even if it never happens, the card can do that. And so that I find it a bit strange. It should be actually feed the 2 health points at all the times and not attack the player with greater magic. So actually remove that part and actually only feed 2 health points. It's true that then the cards loses a bit of depth, because as I said, it was in this way, in this current way that it is a bit of a counterplay to some magic strategies. And if he loses that part and only gets the feed 2 health points and that's it, it loses that counterplay, but gains a bit more sense in the design aspect, in my opinion. So that's it for the design. But actually for the balance that not means a lot, because as I said, most of the times it's actually feed 2 health points and that's it, because as I said, a player against an Endazu will not usually have more magic than an Endazu player. So for the sake of the balance, we could actually have it read like feed 2 health points without the attack player with greater magic part. So for the balance, I also gave it 4 points, because I think it may be a bit too strong. Because, as I said, the best comparison is Zamzigar. You actually pay a lot more health points for having a 4 hitter, so that's 4 damages per turn, but it can't be dealt with before it actually starts ramping up the damages. Instead, Rendezvous, it's okay that you're paying less health, and it's fine that you are not getting those 4 attacks from the magic you gain every turn, but it's instant. And so that instant speed is probably, I will not say stronger than Zamzigar, but is a bit troublesome. And also I'm concerned about a possible too strong synergy, like for example with a control style of deck, like for example with a bunch of Twilight Peacocks, and also blood packs to actually speed up the charging up of those cards, and also only Rendezvous to actually convert all your health points into magic and actually control all the board and stuff, and you only want the Rendezvous into your deck to redraw them and crush your opponent. So I gave it 4 points in design and 4 points in balance. So for the design aspect since I was a bit concerned about its power level that could be possibly too strong, but as I said, I'm not sure. This is the type of card that needs playtesting before saying that it's strong or weak. I am probably more safe about saying that feed 3 health points instead of 2, that will be fine and balanced, but probably it will be too slow. But at 2 health points, it's probably too fast. So this needs playtesting, and actually, as I said, it may be too strong, but I don't know. But for that reason, I didn't think it was fine to give it 5 points, the maximum, for balance, because I wasn't sure this is a fine card, because actually it may be too strong. So that's it for this video. Remember to leave your submission into the Discord server. I repeat myself that this time this weekly competition, the theme is to make a coin card, like the ones that you put in your deck beside your usual bank, but the coin stub. So that's it for this video. Hope you liked it and find it useful. Be sure to leave down below a comment to let me know what you want to see in the next videos, and as always, see ya!